Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Chassidus in the Morning, 15 minutes, Elul edition. Just wanted to say this Shiur is in Refuah Shlema, in Refuah Shlema for Shnei Zalman ben Sarah Chana and Tzion ben Sarah. Also for Akiva ben Feiga Leah, Hashem Moshi Yitzchak ben Sarah Masha. Everyone should have everything they need. Refuah Shlema. Yeah, okay. So we've been discussing, so essentially Elul is all about the king being in the field, meaning the accessibility of God is as much as it is in Rosh Hashanah Kippur, but it's just the way it expresses itself a lot less with the awe and vigor. It's coming from Elul, Ani Ladedi, it's coming from ourselves, that we have to produce it. The king's in the field, we have to go out to the field and greet him and connect with him. Whereas in Rosh Hashanah Kippur, it's all coming from above. We just automatically feel without any preparation. But in order to have it a long-lasting effect, it's without. We talked about it comes about through the avodah that we put in Elul. So then we said, okay, that all makes sense. And said, but what happens? Because we said there's three types of levels within a person. There's a person that's in the field, which is the king is in the field. There's a person in the city, and there's a person in the desert. Now, what's the desert? The desert, the place is lacking Torah mitzvahs. Not even talking about, we said, we're not even talking about Averis Chas v'Shalom, but even things we're doing, but it's not with no intrinsic value to them, no purpose behind what we're doing. We just do it because that's what we do, because I like it. But there's no motive behind it, it's godly motive. So he said, so what happens then? Because what's the desert? It's lacking Torah mitzvahs, and that's not a place where Adam lives, meaning the Adam al-Elya and the Nefesh al-Kis. Is not around. And so how do we connect ourselves? Go to the field, because the king is in the field. And if we're in the desert, so how do we get to the, so we're not going to greet the king. Meaning if we're bogged down by all these machshavas zaris and all these things that we're doing, and we're stuck in the klippah and the shtus and all these things, so then we're never going to be able to go to greet the king in the field, and we're not going to have that elm. So what do we need to do? So we said yesterday, when we're sort of near finishing this off, you have to go and search where you lost it. Just like you lose something, you have to go think back, when was the last time I saw it? You know, I remember when I was a kid, one day, it was like a whole Sunday looking for my mom's keys. So you spend the whole day looking, but where you're looking for, where was it? Well, so after a few times of trying to find it, not being able to find it, he said, well, why'd you last remember it? And that's how you go back. That's how you go looking for things. So too with ourselves, you have to go look, when did we have it? When was the last time I was connected? And then you go and you remind yourself about that. And what happens? Then you realize where you lost it. You're like, oh, I remember I was a lot different than when I was. I remember one time, just to make it a little more practical, at least like from my experience, I remember one time when I left yeshiva, I was from Australia, so I went back to Australia. And one of the things, there was a discussion when I left, like we had it for ringing, was that how to stay connected. And whatever it was, I don't remember exactly what they told me to do. It was an interesting idea, but basically, so I remember at one point I had a friend. So I made like a commitment that I'd go to Faringans. When there was like a Faring going on, wasn't not that many Farings going on. So when there was a Faring, I would go, especially in the yeshiva. So I had a friend, and I was speaking to him, and I was like, come, there's a Faring going on tonight. Let's go. We'll go to Faring. And he was like, no, whatever, I don't really care. So I'm like, what do you mean? It's like free food, there's alcohol, like, why would you want to go? He's like, no, whatever, I'm not in the mood. Now, like, it was confusing to me, like, why wouldn't you be in the mood? It's like, what's there to be in the mood of? Someone's going to talk. You don't even have to listen if you don't want to. You can eat, you can drink, whatever it is. And I went, whatever. And a few months later, there was a ringing happening. And I was thinking to myself, should I go? And I was like, not really in the mood. I'm like, oh, whatever. There's free food and alcohol. I'm like, and I realized, like it scared me when that happened, because I realized like I've sort of changed, and so what I had to realize, like, wait, one second, what was the commitment that I made to myself, and where was I connected? Then I was like, oh, and I realized that in the past this was an obvious thing. It made sense to me even just on a animalistic, like Nefesh Bahamas level, but now even Nefesh Bahamas not wanting to go, I'm in problems. So that's what you got to do. You got to go back to find out where you had it. So it could be last year Elul, last year Tishrei. or whatever you take. It could be, maybe even just in seminary, whatever it is. But you go back and you remind yourself, and then you say, "Hey, I remember I was so different." And what happens then? When you recognize that, you say, "Look how far I'm gone. Look how distant. Look how different I am than I was back then." So then what happens? While your days there, you smile and live, but you become very bitter within yourself. And like we talked about yesterday, it doesn't mean bitter doesn't mean depressed, chas v'shalom, but bitter means that you're bothered. Bitterness is a very good character trait to have. Depression it seems similar, but it's sort of the opposite. Because bitterness causes you to change, and depression causes you to get stuck and not do anything. So we're not saying you should get depressed over what you're holding, but you should be bitter over it. Meaning you should say, I don't want to be like this. I want it to be different. I want to have a better elul. I want to have a better teacher. I want to have a better year. And I don't like the fact that I'm in this situation. So that's what you have to do. So they'll cause you to want to return to Hashem. And you'll ask him for mercy. That you arouse mercy over your godly spark that's within you. It's in Golus. Meaning I'm here because I wanted to be here. I forced to be here. I listened to my Nefesh Bahamas. That's what happened. But why should my Nefesh Kiss suffer so much? Why should it be this way? It shouldn't be this way. That's not what he wants. He didn't come here. He didn't sign up to be stuck in Golus. He came here to come and work on me. And look what's happening. My Nefesh Kiss is poor Nefesh Kiss is not being able to have a say in what's going on. So let me listen to Nefesh Kiss. And like we said before, and I can say this a million times, but it's probably the most important point, is that we have to learn who's the Nefesh Kiss and who's the Nefesh Bahamas within us. We have to recognize those voices, and when Nefesh Kiss is talking, when Nefesh Bahamas is talking. Because if you don't recognize who these people are within you, so then all this doesn't really work. Because you're going to not know who's the Nefesh Bahamas, who's the Nefesh Kiss, I don't know. So then how do I know who's talking? How do I know where I had it, where I didn't have it? And all those things we're talking about, it all starts off with knowing what Nefesh Bahamas is and Nefesh Kiss. So on this point, you'll have mercy of your soul, and it will arouse mercy on you. Yaakov, they redeemed Avram. What's Avram? Kimidas Yaakov, who means Rachmanus. Yaakov is Rachmanus. It's merciful, being merciful. That through having mercy, feeling bad for your nefesh elikis, you redeem from Golus the love that you have, which is Avram bin Shalom. So you're redeeming the love, the aspect of Avram within you that wants to connect and loves God. Who's your nefesh elikis loves God, but we're stuck on the physical world and the pleasure of the physical world. So therefore, that love for God doesn't get revealed. But when you have the mercy and you feel bad for Nefesh Elikis, you say, "Hey, my Nefesh Elikis wants to be connected to God. Let it connect." And you let it yourself connect. So you're redeeming that part of you. And that's why it's called our Father. The Yos Bara Kara Davor, because it's like an extension of the Father. To being clothed and consumed within the Ratzon of Hashem. That the love that the Avram Avinu was part of, so to speak, part of Hashem, and the love that he had that instilled within us, that we all have this part of Hashem. We want to reconnect, we want to re-reveal it, and that's the first answer, the first troubleshooting answer. So remember, we said that what happens if you recognize you're not in the field, you're not out there to greet the king, your life is not based off connected to God in your mundane. But you're sitting there in the desert and you don't even think about God most of the day, and you're thinking about 7-layer cake or whatever it is, and your life's a mess. So therefore, this whole El Marshal that receiving the king in the field is not going to work for you because you're not in the field. So what do? So you have to recognize that you're not in the field. You have to recognize you have a Nefesh Elikis. You have to feel bad for Nefesh Elikis. You have to try to speak to it and try to help it, redeem it from Golus. And how it's through recognizing it and feeling bad for it and being bitter over the fact that my Nefesh Elikis is that's the one that's going to make my life the way it's meant to be, and I have to listen to him more. And when you do that, that will take you out of the desert and put you into the field. Now he's going to say next troubleshooting. But Adam, I say Pashas myself, but a person's going to check into his actions, look through what's going on, and he's going to recognize, like we said before, he's going to recognize where he's holding and we're separated from God, and we're not listening to a nefesh kiss, and he's barely even speaking. And then what happens? So before we said you're gonna think about this, and it's gonna arouse you to have mercy. What happens if it doesn't arouse you? The law is but you're gonna recognize that I'm very distant from God. I don't want to go to the ringing, and I don't care. It doesn't bother me. It's like you say a story that there's a bacher by his afruf, and Rebbe Lazar, the chief rabbi of Russia, was for ringing. I'm not sure how he's connected, but he was there for ringing, and he said something about like when you get married, especially I think it's women's difference. For men, it's more so like this. And he said when you get married, you have to make sure you don't become a balabas. You don't become like just comfortable and you're not pushing yourself and working yourself. So he said, yeah, when you get married, after a while, you start to slacken certain things and you stop saying Kriya Shema. And in Chassidus, Kriya Shema Shalom Mitzvah, the bedtime Shema is one of the most important parts of the day. So he said, you have to make sure that you say Kriya Shema properly. And so he organized that one of his friends is going to come to him in a month to make sure he's still saying Kriya Shema properly. So he said, yeah, no worries, fine. He said L'chaim, and he moved on. He got married, everything worked well. A month later, the bacher comes to check on his newly married friend. He said, whatever the guy's name, Mendel, do you remember the Farringen by your offer? He's like, yeah, well, what are you talking about? He's like, we took an achlata that I'm going to come to you after a month and discuss with you about how your Kriya Shema is doing. So how's your Kriya Shema? He's like, yeah, whatever it is, it's nothing, I don't care so much. Whatever it is, nothing great, but who cares? So he said to him, one of the conditions they made, that if he says this answer, so he's gonna curse him out. So he said to him, he goes, you're a ferd. In Yiddish, you say you're a ferd. It's like you're an animal. Like meant to like affect the person, like shake him out. Like, whoa, look what happened to me. It's been a month and I'm ready this. He said to him, you're a ferd. So the guy goes to him, so what's so bad? And this is the problem. And this is what we're saying here. What happened? We recognize we're very distant. We're not connected to Nefesh L'Kis. Nefesh L'Kis is barely talking. I'm not davening in the morning. I'm not washing hands on Neglavasa. I'm not saying a bracha or an after bracha, whatever it is. And okay, who cares? What's so bad? And it doesn't bother me at all. So what happens then? Because in the first instance, it bothers you. You change. But here, it doesn't bother you. So you don't even change. It's not going to make a difference. What happens? Even though we did think about, we're talking about a case that the person does think about what's going on, and he recognizes that his nefesh l'kis is sunken into galus and it's suffering over there. But still, he doesn't change. He doesn't care to change. The person doesn't want to do anything. So Zoy says him a libra is what they should do. V'nasa love hamashal zen. Should put on this mashal. We should think about this. Have a bring with ourselves and think about this idea. He is teva adam, to the nature of a person. Keshekoyev loy afilu tzipon raglav machma shenagav be'eben magish kev meichem mitzar. So what happens? Let's say you stub your toe. You stub your toe. Your little pinky toe stubs on a rock. It hurts. What does it hurt? It hurts all the way into your brain. Your brain gives you signals that that's a problem. You feel it. You feel it in your mind. But when does that happen? When do you feel that way? When he's saying, but why does it hurt? Because it's connected to you. But if chas v'shalom it gets cut off, and let's say chas v'shalom you have your toe, someone else's toe is separated from them, you can hit the toe with a hammer, with a nail. It doesn't make a difference. It doesn't hurt them. They don't feel it because it's disconnected. So he's saying, well, I'll have to stop, but we'll continue with the mashal. No, basically what he's saying is that the fact that you don't feel anything is because you're disconnected. And you have to recognize you're disconnected. And when you recognize you're disconnected, it'll shock you. It'll shock you back into life. And you say, hey, what's going on? It doesn't bother me. Just like in my story, When I realized that it doesn't bother me, that I don't care to go to the Ferengen, it shocked me. What's going on? Look what's happening to me. It doesn't even bother me anymore. Something that I was for sure, that was obvious. Wouldn't understand why you wouldn't go. And now it's like, why would you go? And that so shocked me, scared me, and pushed me back into line. So the same thing. If you realize Elul's here and you recognize it, and you analyze yourself and you see I'm not going where I'm meant to be going, but you don't really care to change that. So you have to realize, whoa, this is a bad situation. It's, so to speak, I'm disconnected from my nefesh l'kiss. I'm disconnected, so it doesn't bother me, and that's a problem. And that will help you come back. To be continued. Have a great Shabbos.